9 major misunderstandings. Steve, you're going to get to play. David's going to keep track of the answers, okay? So we're going to have a contest. 9 major misunderstandings. Earnest money is thing number 1. All I have at risk as a buyer, if I back out, is losing my earnest money. True or false, Steve?
That would be false.
Dave?
I'm going to go with false as well.
Correct. You're both correct. False. And then a corollary to that is, in fact, so this isn't counting on as a new one. In fact, the broker holding the earnest money will automatically return my earnest money once I give them a notice, let's say, declaring that there's a defect in the home. No, that's not true. In Wisconsin, line 378 in your purchase contract hymnal says that if this offer does not close, the earnest money shall be dispersed according to a written disbursement agreement signed by all parties to this offer.
So you have to agree on how to return the money?
Yeah.
If at all?
What?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's not automatic, even if your appraisal comes in low.
So you're saying people from Wisconsin are just generally nice, even though it's not in the language of the contract.
But there's a form, and we had to do this when we were shopping for homes with for your sister a couple years ago.
Okay.
It's called a CAMR, a consent and mutual release. So the real estate broker holding the earnest money, which is typically the listing broker, cannot disperse the money without written instructions on this Wisconsin form called the CAMR. Well, what do you suppose is the most common thing that causes a controversy over whether or not there really is a defect and the deal should be blown up?
The inspection.
Very good.
Yeah, the home
Are you with him
inspection.
on that, Steve? Because it is true.
Definitely.
Definitely. The inspection contingency. And then remember, that's where you get into the tussle over what constitutes a defect or not. And so guess what you have to do if you're in a real loggerhead situation like that? You're fighting over the earnest money. That is a defect with the roof. No, it's not. My expert says it is. My expert says it isn't.
Do you have to serve the notice of defect?
Well, you always have to do that.
Okay.
But then you actually have to go to small claims court. Okay, so if you get into it, you can always negotiate it out, right? Like maybe we'll split the difference, right? I gave you $5,000, you keep $2,500, I'll take my $2,500 back. But where you have to go is small claims court. Okay, and that's right in the offer to purchase. You could also go to binding arbitration if you wanted to, if you agreed to that. But if you go to small claims court, I wonder how long that's backed up in Milwaukee County.
Yeah, no kidding.
Quite a bit.
4 or 5 weeks, maybe, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Maybe 6 weeks. So your earnest money's tied up while you're fighting about this.
Right.
So, again, it doesn't happen very often, but that can happen. Right now, the other thing that's true is that if the buyer defaults, like just says, hey, I got cold feet, I don't really have a good reason to do this.
I just don't want to.
I just don't want to anymore. They can't get out of it, or they have more at risk than their earnest money. It says right in the contract, the seller may sue for specific performance.
Yeah.
Buy my house.
That's right.
Your performance is buy my house.
Judge, order
Or
this.
you're going to affect the other turnaround resale of that house again. Maybe they have to drop the price, and
you got it. You hit the nail on the
difference.
head. You can also sue them for damages. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yep. Now you offered me $200. Now 6 weeks later, I closed at $190. Pay me the difference because you welched on your deal. Real quickly, the seller also has a risk. If they get cold feet, hey, you know what? I just decided I didn't want to sell my house anymore.
Yeah.
The buyer can sue them for specific performance or damages. Like, hey, now I had to buy a worse house, so you got to pay me $10,000 and maybe pain and suffering or who knows what. And get this, before we take our break, the seller can also be obligated to the real estate listing broker to pay him the commission, because the commission isn't earned at the closing. I'll tell you about that when we come back from our first break.